Hey guys, so welcome to another episode of Saving with Unscripted. So this episode is kind of special because there was a massive global strike yesterday and a lot of locations did a march or rally. And so there might be a lot of talking about that today, which is fine by me because it's a good thing to discuss. You know, people really getting out there, doing the actions, I guess. So yeah. Cool. What's up? What's up with me? I don't know. It's a beautiful day out. What's up with you? Let's see. Questions. I got some good questions this time. Okay. So, time to pull some of them up. Let's pick one. So, Iris said, please continue the discussion on managing school and activism. That's interesting. So, what I think you're wondering is, like, how to balance life, I guess, if you have, like, a lot of school to do, I guess. But the thing is that I do not have a lot of school at all. I have a lot of free time, actually, because I am homeschooled. I go to this place in LA called the Creative Learning Place, and yeah, I pretty much, like, just have classes on Monday and then Friday, and then, like, in online class, like, I don't know, Tuesday, well, it's Tuesday and Thursday, that's English, and then biology is, anyway, I am not that busy at all, so for me, activism is kind of just what I do in my free time, which I have a lot of, so I can't really offer any tips on, like, how to balance life, like, when you're super busy with other things, except for just, like, make sure you make time for self-care, too, and don't let any of the things you're doing, like, tire you out and suck your juices. I apologize for that. Alright. Oh, yeah. What was my favorite thing about the strike? Oh. Cody says not to overstep, but I have a lot of school. Start conversations with your peers about it. Make sure your grades don't spiral out of control, and make sure you're taking regular breaks from both. Exactly. Okay, and Abs is asking, what was your favorite thing about the strike? Well, I went to the Los Angeles one. Technically, I'm one of the organizers for that, but I kind of guessed it that time. Like, I showed up, like, right on time and didn't really help, like, a lot. I mean, I was there, and I was doing my schnitt and being the good pal and supporting my friends. That's what I was doing. My favorite thing about the strike was just seeing how many people showed up, because it was kind of large numbers yesterday for us. And, I mean, it wasn't like 1,000 people, but it was like a few hundred, and that's more than we've had in the past. Although slightly less than our first big day. Anyway, though, the point is that I enjoyed seeing the people who were there, because I like seeing how passionate people can get. And I was also thrilled to hang out with my friends, like Kevin, Landon, and Jesus, and then also Edgar McGregor from Twitter, you may know him, showed up. So yeah, I hung out with him. Conversations with climate activists are really interesting because these are either people who know a lot or are really passionate, or both. So you can have, like, these really in-depth conversations in the span of, like, 30 seconds because both of you are talking so fast. Yeah. So that was my favorite thing, I guess, just, like, making connections with people who were there. Let's see. What other questions are there? Okay. And then Iris is also saying, also more on how to connect youth in a fun way to activism. connecting youth to activism in a fun way, making it fun. Well, one of my favorite things to do in terms of like sort of unorthodox methods is chalk drawing, actually. So I said a while ago that every Friday I would start striking, like I guess like solo, like, you know, Fridays for Future, how they do it. But every time I've tried, I've ended up either just like being tired or not feeling well or wanting to be close to home. But anyway, so there was one time, yes, chalk drawing is amazing. So there was one time where I didn't want to go all the way to downtown. So I ended up driving to just like the Starbucks on Sawtell, which is nice. It's the Starbucks that's like right in front of the corner. So there was a nice big sidewalk for me to draw on, and oh my god, my hair. And what I ended up doing was I actually took quotes from the IPBES report. That was the original report that was talking about the potential collapse of biodiversity. I took quotes from that report, like I read it, I skimmed it. Well, I skimmed it and then I read it. But I took quotes from that report and I wrote them down on the sidewalk, and not a lot of people have noticed them. I guess just because the only person who I saw online had taken a photo of it. I mean, it's cool, yo, but I mean, I didn't do it for clout. I did it for, well, I didn't do it for online clout. I did it for like street clout, you know? Like I did it for people to walk by and see these messages about what we need to do and what we've been causing. And I just wanted people to get people to think a little bit more. So yeah, but that kind of was a little funky, just sitting there watching people on their phones like walk right over it, like literally their feet were treading on the chalk and they were not aware of what they were doing. My dad had to stop me from cutting a bitch. No, not really. But definitely not really. I'm not violent. But, I mean, I was literally like a toddler was walking on it, and you can kind of justify toddlers because they're literally toddlers. But I was like, excuse me. Yes, music is good. Singing songs at protests is good, but oh god, yesterday at the Los Angeles strike. Okay, so I'm not going to say anything about the music quality, because the music quality was, like, fine. But what I will say is that it was obscenely loud. It was, like, rock music, and it was, like... And, like, the bass was heavy, and... Oh my god. So yes, most music is good. That was not. I'm moving my water bottle from behind the tissue box that I'm leaning the iPad on, so hopefully it doesn't fall all the way over. Yes, and by the way, the thing, as usual with this program, is that if any of you want to come on and, like, be a guest and, like, request to join the live, that's kind of the point. So, yeah, you can do that if you want. Let's see, we got a new question. Just now. Who was my favorite speaker from the strike? Okay, so there were two people. Yes, Cody, thank you. I'll get to you in a minute right after I say this. But who was my favorite speaker? Let's see. Yes, so two people, in my opinion, tied for that. One was my friend Landon, who was just, like, really passionate, and he told me he was really nervous before, and he's adorable, and it was wonderful. But the other one, who actually had, like, a good message and, like, nice, consistent wording, and had clearly, like, written out before, and had a loud, carrying voice, was this guy, Luke Mullen, who is an actor, like, on a Disney show, Andy Mack, Anyway, so I'm gonna stop playing with my hair. And anyway, though, so yeah, so Luke's speech was really nice. I put it on my story. I don't know if it's still up there, but it was cool. Yes. Okay, so you watched the show. So I'm just gonna drink some more water because otherwise I'm gonna cough like crazy. But anyway, so yeah, so those two were my favorite. And now it's Cody's time to be on the show. Oh wait, I got a droplet of water on my. Okay. Cody. Cody is loading. Hello, Cody.
Oh, how's it going?
It is going well. Today was fun. We took my dog to the dog park. Well, one of my dogs. The other is old and doesn't like other dogs. Yeah, so we took my dog to the dog park. Yeah, and earlier we had a brunch with friends. What about you? How was your day?
I've been studying all day for finals because my finals start on Thursday, but my birthday is on Wednesday, and I really don't want to study on my birthday. So I've just been doing all of my studying until Wednesday, and then I'm just... Yeah, I've been very productive today. I got a lot of work done for corporate cleanup, so I got the Twitter up and running. I got some videos posted on the Facebook, so...
Yeah, cool. So, for anyone who's gonna show up later on your end or mine, I guess, because you know how when two people go live together, there's like the
different notifications, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so just because of that, I'm sort of gonna just say that this is Saving Earth Unscripted. It's a show on Instagram Live, and this is Cody. Cody, talk about yourself.
My name is Cody. I use he, him pronouns. I'm 15. I'll be 16 on Wednesday. I go to a very moderately strict Catholic high school, and my city used to be a very urban city, and that causes a lot of walls being built for my needs and desires. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hi, Holly. I see you. So it's just sort of me trying to blaze a trail in all of my spaces, because I don't want anyone else to have to do that after me, because I know there will be people, and I know there have been, but no one has felt safe enough to talk about that stuff. So I want to use the privilege I have as a white person with male privilege. Even though I am trans, I do have male privilege because I'm male passing somewhat. And
somewhat, all the way. You're doing fairly well at that.
Thank you. I'm honored. And just sort of do that. So yeah, I work with Sunrise. I am a 0 Hour ambassador. It's a good time. I co-run with you and a bunch of other really cool people an organization called Corporate Cleanup, where we tell corporations, currently Amazon, to clean up their act and stop using a bunch of fossil fuels. And we are currently working on organizing a bunch of rallies at Amazon warehouses to demand that they divest from fossil fuels and start to transition to renewable energy. Because at their last shareholder meeting, they completely ignored their group of workers who were demanding climate justice. Jeff Bezos did not give them the time of day, did not let them speak, did not do anything. So we are demanding that they get the attention that they deserve, and that Amazon starts treating a crisis like a crisis. So we are in our first wave of organizing rallies, and at the same time working on a heat week where wherever you are, even if there isn't a rally in your state, you can start putting the heat on Amazon to start the transition and to lead the way for other companies. So
exactly. And there's a whole map of warehouses across the country.
There is a whole map, and whoever made that map is my hero. because then I don't have to post the addresses of all of the warehouses. I can just post the map. God bless whoever made that map on this day.
Well, you'd post the map if you're allowed to zoom in, because then if not, it's just gonna be like,
yeah, you know what I mean.
yeah. Cool.
Lit.
So, you have an interesting room.
These are my Christmas lights. I'm currently in my bed with my gay blanket. I'm working on biology homework, and I'm taking a break to do other stuff. Hello, Beccara.
Beccara.
I'm sorry if I screwed up your name. You
Beccara Jameson. Yeah. All right.
Everyone is welcome. The sun is shining on me. I look beautiful, so I talk about my love for Christmas. I'm not religious in any sort of way, but Christmas makes me happy, and it's a good time. So, yep.
Christmas is a good time. What's your favorite holiday? Is Christmas your favorite holiday?
See, I don't know, because Christmas is probably my favorite holiday, but my favorite memories are with Halloween. Just because, like, last year on Halloween, it was the first Halloween with my adopted little brother, and we all went as the Incredibles characters. My older sister was Violet, Carter was Jack, I was Mr. Incredible, and it was amazing.
That is amazing. I love that. That's so cute.
It's like, not to do the cheesy thing where I tie everything back to activism, but I think it's those moments of, like, little things with family and with friends or for yourself are all the more important when you are an activist, because it's very easy to take every moment when you're not doing something for mental health, LGBT rights, environmental stuff, and to say, like, oh, because I am taking this time for myself, I am not doing my part. But you're actually doing quite the opposite, because you will be much more effective in whatever movement you are in if you take time to re-energize and re-strategize and come back stronger than if you spent a week burnout doing half the work you would be able to do otherwise.
Exactly. You're exactly right, and very wise, sir. Yeah, cool. So
cool. Also, what are your pronouns? Because I don't think I've ever asked you.
She, her.
Cool.
Yeah. Paul, you want to come up on the couch?
Oh, do I get to see you now? Oh my god!
Yes, he's very handsome.
He's so handsome. The good climate boy. I love him.
Yes, he's very cute. He's very cute. Oh my god. So I posted something. I just posted, like, a series of photos from the strike yesterday. And my friend Jesus, who is also one of the organizers, comments from the Climate Strike LA Instagram. Wait, I've got to find it. It's so weird. Wait, let me find it. Oh my god. Wait, okay. Wait, okay. Yes, okay. So he says, LOL, some old lady vibes, we dig it, period, dash. Jesus, as in from Jesus, and then he said, in parentheses, AKA wet blanket. Old lady vibes? I do not understand.
If you give off old lady vibes, you are the snazziest old lady I have ever met.
Brilliant. Thank you. It's still weird.
It's a little weird.
Yeah. And I wonder what the thought process behind that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so let me
You're
see.
valid and your style is valid.
Yeah, so let me see if I can pull up a question for us. Okay. Okay, so Juno is asking, what do you think is the best way we can go about convincing and working with, hang on, let me find the second part, companies to join the campaign for a better Earth? And this question is perfect for you because of the corporate cleanup thing.
Yeah.
So, what are some good ways to do that?
Okay, so I need to preface this by saying I completely think that a problem with the climate that was caused by the buying and selling of rights and of like food and shelter and basic necessities cannot be caused by the same way of buying and selling. But with the way that it currently is, with capitalism and the way that companies work, then it is very important for companies to be taking the first step to be leaders in a time of climate crisis and learn how to adapt. And like the dismantling of the ineffective parts of capitalism doesn't mean dismantling corporations. It means dismantling corporations that are profiting off the buying and selling of basic necessities. And as much as I hate to say it, most companies are very prone to doing things for money instead of the actual well-being of everyone on Earth. So,
well, yeah, that's kind of the point a little.
Yeah, which is a rough one, but also that makes it more important that perhaps other actions that are not bribery or any sort of donations and are instead putting the heat on that company, like even if it's one thing that you don't think is very important, like if you got a piece of chalk and you went to your main square or this really popular restaurant and you wrote about how Amazon was brushing their carbon emissions under the rug, or any company that has been primarily perpetrating the climate crisis, and talk about that, then someone else could see it and post about it, and then it could spread wildly. So your actions do matter, but you just need to start doing what you can to turn up the heat on companies that you are seeing that are perpetuating this crisis. And we need to start immediately, because, I mean, I don't think I need to convince anyone on this call that we're running out of time, because it's why we're on this call.
Yeah. So basically your thing is like capitalism sucks, but while it's here, we still need to be doing something.
I mean, any system that profits off of the buying and selling of basic necessities, which should be human rights, is unsustainable. However, it doesn't mean an entire dismantling of what we know as the government or a transition to communism, but it just means I've had a lot of people tell me that the opposite of capitalism is communism, therefore I'm a communist, I guess.
That is not true, and that is not true.
You're allowed to acknowledge that a way of government and business is unsustainable while not being a communist.
Yes, exactly. But communism is not the best either, and it definitely also has flaws. But at the same time, people who use it as like a personal insult, like call people like commies, I guess, or like liberal people, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a proper insult, because it shouldn't be something that's offensive. It just is another way to think about things that isn't, also perfect.
Yeah. Sorry, my friend is here, Elise. Hi, Elise. Yeah, so we need to find this balance between, like, the effective parts of capitalism and the effective parts of other forms of government, like, not forms of government, you know what I mean, like socialism and communism, because it has been very clear that communism does not work, like, in practice. However, there are still very good parts of each system that has been brought to the table that can be taken into account. like everybody getting a safety net of healthcare and basic human rights, and not profiting off the buying and selling of food, water, and shelter.
Yes, exactly. People shouldn't have to buy those things, because if they don't have them, they die.
If you're going to
Literally.
if you're going to buy, like, it's a very clear, to me, it's a very clear difference. Like, I can still say, like, if you're going to go to some fancy restaurant and purchase
Like
mac and cheese with caviar and like wine, then you should have to pay for that, because that is like something that is extravagant and excessive, and you're allowed to have that. But that doesn't mean that people who are homeless or addicts or inmates or who are like lower on the scale of marginalization should be the ones who are starving because they can't get a damn sandwich or something.
Yeah.
Like, there should be these safety nets in place. There should be a basic minimum wage that people can live off. There should be systems for free food that aren't based off your income level or your drug status.
They should end this thing in real estate I learned about, where basically, like, even if the building doesn't change and the general area doesn't change, I guess, like a home that looks the same and has been the same for like 12 years, the price will suddenly increase because of like a school that's being built or renovated nearby. You know how like based on the area around it, like a building will be more expensive for mortgage or rent?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that should be a thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's a difference between like thinking everybody is going to live in a mansion and thinking that a homeless person should be able to have a house or an apartment.
Yes, exactly.
And, okay, while we're on the topic, I'm going to talk about something that annoys me, because very close in my family, there's somebody who has been on a lot of drugs, and this is not going to get too depressing, but there have been bills that have tried to be passed that you cannot get food stamps until you get a drug test. And first of all, the prison system is broken, and there are people who are in prison for nonviolent drug crimes who are suffering instead of getting rehab and the help that they need to get clean. But also, it is not entirely clear, apparently, that addicts deserve to eat.
Yeah, I don't, like, I think what people think, though, really, I mean, like, in their darkest part of their hearts that they wouldn't reveal to anyone, like, including liberals, is that there's a certain, like, dirtiness to the concept of addicts. Like there's a certain, like, unwholesome sort of, well, why can't you just stop yourself sort of thing, that people think, like, addicts are somehow, like, weak or, like, gross or evil, or that they shouldn't be allowed to be real people because they're not already, I guess.
There's so
terrible.
Like, me and my mom have talked about this a lot. Like, with my family member, I have an older brother, who has been through a lot of that, and he has not only been the one facing that sort of stigma. He, of course, has been on the main lines of it, because he was the one that it was directly happening to, and he has not yet gotten the help that he needs. But me and my mom, when we're talking about it, when we're talking about our normal, we get judgment and we get stigma, and we get, oh, how hard that must be for you, and oh, like, how rebellious, and is he gonna, like, overdose? And I'm like, half of the questions that I get as a family member of someone who is a drug addict are either completely ignorant because no one is talking about actual facts about drug addicts, or absolutely none of your business.
Yes, that's terrible. Yeah, but in the meantime, so we've gotten 3 new questions. Let's see.
Cool. Oh, hi, Brandon. My friend Brandon.
Let's see. Oh, well, Juno just said, like, first of all, Poe, my baby. Because when I asked the question for people to submit their questions, you know, with the sticker, it was on a picture of Poe, and he is so handsome. Let's see. Okay, so Maddie is asking, do you think climate change is the most important problem? As opposed to, like, racism or world hunger or any of that, just sort of, like, do you think it's the most important problem?
Okay, I have a long answer to this. So
Okay, good. I'm gonna take a water break.
Wonderful. So I don't think climate change is the most important. Hi, Anna. I don't think climate change is the most important problem of our generation, because I think every single generation since the beginning of time have been facing stigmas and problems that no one has been paying attention to. And climate change is just something that we have an actual timeline for. We have a time bomb for it, and we can point to it and say, we have until this time. And it's harder to debate because we have science on our side. And I think racism and sexism and ableism and
Thank you for mentioning ableism. Very little people do.
Of course, and homophobia and transphobia are all the most important problems of our generation, because we are the generation that has been given the privilege to have this platform and have been given the bravery and courage to do what we can to step up for our rights. But with that being said, climate change is sort of where all of those issues interact, where all of them
absolutely
get together. And because LGBT people and disabled people and women and people of color and LGBT, I already said that, but the lower you are on the scale of marginalization is the more you are affected by climate change. Because
but also more intersections you have, like a black trans woman in a wheelchair. And actually, well, of course, but there are people like that out there, and they are affected by climate change more than others. And there is an amazing black trans woman in a wheelchair who's actually a model. I forget her name.
Phillips. I love her.
Yes, she is amazing. She is amazing. And it's people like her who are going to be dealing with the most, because climate change, the climate crisis, exacerbates every oppression you could already face.
Yes. And it's very annoying when it's always primarily white straight men who are saying this, but they're like, what does
that's with everything.
What does some happenstance with whatever sexuality you are, or whatever color you are, or like how abled you are, what does that have to do with anything? That's just another thing. But the answer to that, which is actually when it's not being asked to try and demean us, is actually a very good question, because how could such seemingly random circumstances affect us in such a way more than white people, able-bodied people, straight, cis people? And the answer is that climate change is exacerbated by systems of oppression, which is why that black kids have a 60% higher rate of asthma than white kids, and which is why communities of color are within, like, majority of which are 30 miles from a coal plant, and which is why LGBT people are 40% of the homeless population, even though we're only 1% of the American population, which means
and then
we have
from there,
which means we have a higher exposure to pollution. And because homeless people have a higher exposure to pollution, and disabled people and LGBT people and people of color are more likely to become homeless, therefore it becomes our problem.
Yes,
and we cannot. I remember, I'm poorly paraphrasing a quote from Jamie Margolin, but we cannot slap solar panels on the problem and expect it to be fine, because we can run on solar energy and wind energy, but if we do not actively work to change the ways that people of color and disabled people and queer people have been held down for generations, then
Nothing's going to change.
Nothing's going to change, and we're just going to go back to the same way that we were. Hi,
Yeah.
Nella, my best friend.
I'm smiling, by the way, not because any of this is particularly good news, but just because, like, someone gets it and someone else is angry, you know?
Yeah.
It's a good feeling. Yeah, speaking of 0 Hour, though, actually, I worked on their Getting to the Roots of Climate Change presentation before I left. But before I did leave, I did a lot of work on that presentation, and, like, I learned some things, and I reminded people about ableism. Literally, like, it was always me. I was reminding, like, everybody every time about ableism, that was a thing. But anyway, no harm done, because if it's not your experience, it's easy to forget, you know? Yeah. But basically, the point is that when I was working on that presentation, not only did I guess, remind people, but I also learned a lot. And I learned a lot about how, did you know that in California, with the most recent round of fires, that there were like prisoners fighting the fires without getting paid, basically. It was like 1 cent an hour, but they were fighting fires. And, you know, because of the thing where the prison system is broken and, you know, most people of color, or it is mostly people of color who end up in jail for non-violent crimes, that is the denomination, that is the group who is ending up as, like, servants, basically, risking their lives.
That's awful.
Yes, it is. It really is.
Oh my god. I can't believe. I mean, I can sadly believe, because this is how it's been forever, but I'm just really glad that I was born into this particular generation, because it is very scary having this 11-year time bomb.
Yeah, on the one hand, we gotta deal with all this.
Yeah, but also, like, being in a generation of people who are so fired up and who are bringing our stories to the conversation is just really important to me. And I feel so special always that I get to be part of that. And just, I don't know where this video is going after, but if anyone is watching who has some sort of privilege, I have weird, like, intersections of my privilege, because I have a lot of mental health problems. I have depression, anxiety, and being tested for a lot more. I am trans and bisexual, and yet I am a trans male, which gives me privilege because of being seen as male in public spaces. And I am a white person, which means that I am very likely to not die in a police encounter or the many other problems that Black people face. And you, whoever's watching this, your story is equally as important as everyone else's, but also make sure that once you have told your story, you are making space for others to do the same. And if you find that there is a common story that is not being told, like if you find that you are in a group that isn't talking about disabled rights, even if you're not disabled, bring those stories to the conversation. Same with trans issues. Zia, I think that's something we can relate on, that we both are in a particular group that is not often brought to the conversation in, like, whatever activism group we're in. So don't make disabled and trans people do all the work.
Yes, exactly. We do not always want to have to be the people to remind you that we exist. We want you to remember it yourself.
Yes. Don't create things with people in mind. Like, if you're having a conference, pick a space where there are easily accessible ramps and elevators, where there will be ASL interpreters, where there will be gender-inclusive language, where there will be speakers who are bringing these topics to the table, and make sure that you are not making the marginalized group do all of the work. Because throughout history, we have seen that if the marginalized group is the ones doing all of the work with no allies and no people bringing them to the table, they are much less likely to succeed.
Yes. Did you see Maddie's comment?
I want to speak at a TED Talk with all of you. That would be
Yes.
so cool.
Yeah, oh my god. But we should become the dynamic duo, though, and go everywhere together.
Honestly, we need to go on a tour. Just
Yes.
like, hey.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing, because your brain is on fire.
Thank you. And I love the way that you talk about things that you're passionate about. We should honestly, like, why don't we host a podcast?
Yes, that would be amazing. That would be so amazing. Oh my god. It would be like this, except there's both of us, and I don't know, maybe more time or less, more organized. That would be amazing. We should
get like that done. More formal, and we can talk about climate issues and how marginalization.
Yes, it should be mainly climate. It should be climate crisis centric, but we should talk about other things and relate them back to the climate, like food sustainability and all that.
Because everything relates to the climate crisis, and I can talk about how
it does. Literally,
I can talk about how prison systems and the exploitation of inmates are exacerbated by climate change, and we can at the end give good news about stuff that's happening with the climate so everyone doesn't get really depressed.
Yes, like, oh my god. Oh my god. I can just picture, and now here we are for the last 2 minutes of our podcast. This is 2 minutes of good news.
2 minutes of good news, or we just go back and forth like, this country banned plastic. This city is transitioning to renewable energy. We need to have like a renewable energy city spotlight, where we just put a spotlight on city instead of pledge to transition to renewable energy.
Yeah. And I was thinking, okay, so speaking of disabled people not often being in the conversation about environmental stuff and the crisis and biodiversity collapse. Yes. So there's the whole straw debate where, I mean, disabled people are kind of not into that because a lot of more severely disabled people actually need straws. And Los Angeles just did like a ban thing where you can get them by request, but then in a few months you won't be able to get them at all. And the thing is that I personally do not need them. Like, I have straws that feel a lot like plastic, but they're made of like a compostable material, and they're fine for me because I just like that tactile sensation. But like, some people literally need that exact material, and I just like, I don't want anyone to think I don't care about the turtles, because I do, but you also cannot literally abuse people.
Listen. All right. Also, I'm going to go back to the subject in a second, but Maddie said that they would love to help too. And so Maddie is also going to be on this podcast. And this podcast would be awesome. Is going to be the best podcast. But about the straw issue, I find that the main people who are perpetuating the ban straws and stop littering are the people who want to distract you from the actual necessities, which is banning styrofoam or banning single-use plastics, because there are
or banning invasive fishing methods, you know, like those big trawling nets that kill everything within like 50 miles.
Putting limits on the amount of meat exports that you're allowed to do, because banning straws and like trying to pick up litter is really taking the focus away from the real issue. And I think that do a straw by request. I think, like, I don't need a straw, and I'm very happy to, like, if I was working, I'd be very happy to give a straw to someone who wanted it. But just bring people to the table when you are making these decisions, and think, like, while you're filling out, like, a menu or whatever, just like, would you like a straw with that? Yes. It's not hard to bring people to the table. It just requires thoughtfulness. And
it requires thoughtfulness, and it requires just a little bit more effort than you may be prepared for, because that's what it is. People like choosing easy solutions that may not actually affect anything. That way they can feel like they're doing their part when really it's not working.
Like, there are like many ways to do your part, but make sure that you are not just saying, oh, I've heard that people are going to ban plastic straws, so sure, I'll ask a restaurant to ban plastic straws. Or you can, like, take that energy and go to city council and say, hey, I really need you to transition to renewable energy to protect the futures of me and my friends, which is something that I recently did. And it was very scary, but it was very worthwhile. And I think everyone should do it, because if one young person in every single city all over America went to their city and asked if they could pass a Green New Deal for their city, then it doesn't matter what government we have, because now we have a Green New Deal, and it will encourage other cities to step up. And I think it's very easy to forget that young people have a lot of power. Because
yeah, we saw young people in large numbers yesterday.
Yeah,
all around the world.
I was like on Greta Thunberg's story, like mesmerized by the amount that people were turning out in New York City with the die-in. Alexandria Valsignor and Zane Cohen, who were two of the young main activists working on that project. Young people have not only the ability to go up and ask and request and demand that their future is protected, but also we have a very unique advantage of being at a very particular point in history where we have concrete proof that we are not alone.
Yeah.
We can point to Sweden, we can point to Greta Thunberg and Alexandria Valsignor and Isra Hirsch and Maddie, who was in New York City yesterday, and we can say these are other people who are standing with me talking to you right now, and they may not be here, but they are coming in millions, and we won't stop coming until we get the bare minimum of our demands, which is divest from fossil fuels, stop all oil and coal projects, and transition to renewable energy by 2030 like science demands. Because I don't care how much it costs, it will cost more if we keep getting hit by more and more natural disasters every year.
Yeah.
May as well get it out of the way now.
Yeah. So it is currently 4:52 for me, and it has been a while.
Yeah.
So I am going to, yeah, you can just like, get yourself off the. I mean, if you want, I'm not kicking you off. I just like it. Whatever.
It's 7:52 for me, and my mom is at the store, so I'm very happy to call with you until my mom is home and I have to eat dinner.
Yeah. All right.
Wait, I have an app where I can check to see where she is. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay. What? Oh, not quite yet.
Still at Walmart, so we all good.
Okay. Well. So yeah. So did you have any questions for me, or shall we look at? Yes. So Maddie actually asked a while ago. Ooh. Have you both watched Our Planet on Netflix? I have not.
I have watched the first episode very recently for a term paper that I was writing, and I liked it a lot, but I spent the rest of that time working on the actual term paper, and I need to get hopping back on that because it was very good, and David Attenborough does the perfect narration. What a good man. Yeah, and I think it's very important that companies that are very prominent with media, especially with young people, are talking about the climate crisis.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any more questions in here? Do you think people have become more negative, so I guess like cynical and non-active in the Trump era, or more positive and more active? Interesting question.
See, okay.
Hmm.
This is something I struggle with, because throughout my life I've always been this look on the bright side. Everything is gonna be fine. And we are currently at a point where it's seemingly not a lot of bright sides, and we don't entirely know what's going to happen with our futures. But I have the ability of being an optimist by looking at Sunrise and Zero Hour and communities who are making these changes and saying there will be more of this because we are not stopping until we get what we need for a future. And therefore, until countries will be doing this, because there's proof. We're seeing it happen. I'm going to plug my phone in. We're seeing it happen, and I'm able to point to that and say that is the effect of action. But that also has to be balanced with, yeah, Mozambique did get hit with 2 cyclones in the same month, and yeah, California was hit with massive fires, because there needs to be a balance. Because if I got all depressing news every single day, then I would just feel not very good, and it would be very hard to get up and do anything, because what does it matter? But there's also a lot of good happening, and so there needs to be a balance of, this is what's happening, and here's what people are doing about it, and here's how to join them.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it should be like the miracleest of miracles that we even can still do things to head this off, to mitigate this, and we should be doing all we can just to celebrate our capacity to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, so again, I'm not kicking you off, but the truth is, these do end at like right at an hour. Like, it will cut off mid-sentence.
Oh.
At 5. So yeah, you can. I'm just gonna like X you out, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. This is really cool.
Yeah. So great. So that was another episode of Saving Earth Unscripted.